Hey guys, I'm going to wait a minute here and try to give a few minutes to see if anybody wants to come on. And we're going to talk about how many champions there are. Well, it's not going to be each individual champion, but we're going to see how many championships and belts there are here. And there are a plethora of belts, and that's what's wrong with boxing. And I'm going to talk just a tad and a hair once again about some of these belts and how they came about. And boxing at the beginning, uh, or towards the beginning of it, we had the National Boxing Association, the NBA, and it got so corrupt that through the years that they did a name change on it. It wasn't. Some people say it was because of conflict with the more newly created National Basketball League, but that wasn't the logist. Uh, they changed uh, the name because of corruption in the National Boxing Association. Some people, and it was international. It wasn't national to a specific country, although it was called the National Boxing Association. But again, it was international. But they changed it to the World Boxing Association in the mid to late 50s because they needed to uh, come up with uh, a new way that people were looking at them, and they needed to try to clean out some corruption, something which really in reality did not happen. There was no corruption cleaned out of the sport, but they called it, did a name change, trying to redo and renew their image, and they called it the WBA, the World Boxing Association. So it went from the National Boxing Association to being named the World Boxing Association uh, in attempts to get away from the corruption that was in boxing at the time. And of course, it did not work. And then some years later, in an effort and created supposedly for the sole purpose of having an alternative to the WBA, they created the WBC, the World Boxing Council. The first heavyweight championship belt was awarded to the sitting WBA champion, which was Sonny Liston. So Sonny Liston is actually the first WBC heavyweight champion. Now, these later two belts, I haven't done a lot of research on them. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Please leave a comment if I'm wrong. Uh, but later came the IBF and then the WBO. And I believe I got this right. The WBO was created after the IBF was created, uh, to because a guy that wanted to be the president of the IBF was not given the presidency of that boxing organization. Uh, yeah, of the IBF. So he himself created the World Boxing Organization and is, uh, other than the WBC, if memory serves me correctly, uh, these two newer organizations had to really fight and inch their way up. And the WBC, not much so, because it was created with an excellent image in the beginning, and they awarded their belts to sitting WBA champions. These newer organizations didn't necessarily do these things. They had some tournaments and whatnot, and then they awarded the belt to the WBC or WBA champions when they gave these belts out. So we already had a fractured system by the time the latter two organizations uh, were created. But what I can tell you is they're both a load of bunk, and these organizations are awful. Boxing is riddled with corruption, and I'm just gonna go down the list here, and I'm gonna give you how many championships we have with these corrupt boxing uh, organizations, from WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO. Um, and it's good to note that we have the IBL, International Boxing League now, and a WBL, World Boxing League now, along with other boxing organizations and leagues. So this is just basically a partial list. But right now, as it stands, generally, with you could add one weight class to this, or actually take one or two weight classes away. But I settled on 17 weight classes, which, if you go to most of your boxing sites and whatnot, they'll have 17 weight classes now. But on a 17 weight class system, we have heavyweights, we have seven different championship belts. Uh, Now, I'm not saying organizations, I'm saying belts, because now we have interim belts, we have franchise tagged belts. I mean, it's really ridiculous. But, and this is excluding other, it's just the four uh, boxing organizations that I'm talking about. But we have, and there's more than that. So there's more than what I'm even reading off to you. But we have seven heavyweight champions. Uh, these aren't seven people all the time. These are just belts that are awarded and given, or won or lost. We have seven heavyweight champions, six cruiserweight champions, uh, five light heavyweight champions, eight super middleweight champions, six middleweights, six super welterweight champs, six welterweight champs, five super lightweight champs, six lightweight champs, five junior lightweight champs, six featherweight champs, five super bantamweight champs, uh, five bantamweight champs, five super flyweight champs, six flyweight champs, six junior flyweight champs, and six minimum weight champs. It's a lot. So, just on what I've listed here, uh, there are 99 champions for 17 different weight classes. So, and we wonder what's wrong with boxing. Um, Another important thing to note here, uh, each of these boxers, if, for example, if they do not pay uh, dues, for example, for the WBC or WBA, IBO, or IBF, which are in the thousands of dollars and in some cases tens of thousands of dollars every year, they can't get ranked. So, uh, hence comes all the other corrupt types affiliated with these organizations uh, or corrupt people fronting money to these boxers, and uh, they'll put these fees up. So you got these promoters standing there that their only job is not promoting a fight and reaping a percentage off of it. In a lot of cases, these promoters end up putting up so much money in front of the fighter, for example, just to get a fighter the ability to be ranked, irregardless of who he's beaten or who he is not beaten. Uh, put up all these tens of thousands of dollars so their fighter can be ranked. Um, you can look at the heavyweight rankings right now, and you will see, I believe, in the WBC that Usyk is not even ranked in the WBC. Uh, Now, I've seen uh, some comments concerning that, and it's not that the WBC is just, well, we don't like him. It's not a fan thing. There's nothing going on with that. Evidently, the people that handle Usyk are not paying the WBC, because you can rest assured if if they were given the $50,000 or $40,000 a year, uh, not only do they pay that, have all these weight divisions have to pay all of that, they have to give up huge chunks of money for each of the individual fights and such. So uh, that's a lot about the corruption of the boxing. A lot about the corruption of boxing. So Usyk's not uh, on the WBC list, uh, obviously, because he's not paying, because they would love to have him over there ranking and fighting their guy. Now, that being said, they would love to make a huge amount of money off a fight with Fury and Usyk. However, as soon as the fight's completed, they're going to do everything they can to break and fracture all these belts off in independent pieces so they all uh, continue to make more money than if there's one champion. So that's got a lot to do uh, with the corruption of boxing. But you can see here 99 different champions. And this is actually, this list would go over. There would be over 100, well in excess of 100 champions if every weight class had an interim champion, a regular champion, and then a super champion. Some of these weight classes do, a lot of them do not. So this is just part of the ridiculousness going on here with boxing. The promoters love it, the organizations love it, the referees love it, because there's always a handout here. And until we get this mess broken down and we get some type of governing body, even if we had two firm governing bodies, and maybe their champs would fight each other, But if they were firm governing bodies, a lot of this mess would go away. Uh, the UFC is not perfect, but they don't have 5 or 7 uh, different champions per weight class, and they keep a hold of what's going on, and it gives you the good fights, and this is why we're not getting the fights, or a lot to do with it, but it's shocking for somebody that's older like me to sit here when we had one champion when I was a kid, one champion per weight class, and we didn't have 17 weight classes when I was a kid. Uh, to having all these different champions. And there was a lot less corruption going on in the boxing scene when I was a younger guy, too. Um, you can, on any given weekend, look and see a thrown fight, see where the judges have grossly uh, mismanaged the responsibility given to them uh, through corruptness, not through ignorance, through corruptness. Uh, it was a rarity when I was a kid for us to see this, a rarity. And when it did happen, 99% chance that it was going on uh, in the top 15 or 20 in the weight division, but you might see something where they're trying to bump somebody up, but rarely in these championship fights. And since the 1980s, it's just gotten worse and worse, and it'll continue to get worse. That being said, we had our moments. We had some bad things that happened and occurred, but not to the extent with which it goes on in boxing today. So um, that's a lot of things there that we should be thinking about as far as the sport of boxing. It's a shame that when you put out the channels that are putting out decent information on boxing aren't getting many views. Not many people are watching. But you got brothers that'll get on here and put up uh, Deontay Wilder style Elton John glasses, or Davis's what color a pocketbook is he going to be sporting today? And they're getting 5, 10,000 people come on and look and view. And then when the seriousness, and then they're all crying because they can't get good fights. And what would we expect when nobody cares about the history of the sport? Uh, and nobody cares about the uh, what's going on with the sport beyond their guy and their guy's fashion of the day. So it's only going to get worse until eventually there's going to be no more boxing because they're going to transgender boxing. And when that happens, boxing's dead. Uh, but at least there'll be some UFC. I'm not a UFC fan, but when boxing's totally gone, I'll start watching that, or karate competitions, kickboxing, and MMA events. But it's getting to a point now that boxing is just going by the wayside. Uh, and we've got to do something to stand up. Everybody claims they love boxing, but yet nobody wants to voice really. I mean, some people do. I'm not saying everyone, but we've not many people want to voice beyond the fashion of what a fighter's wearing. So another thing I'll talk about quickly here is strength and conditioning stuff that boxers do. Uh, Boxing Scholar, he's got a great channel. Uh, you can look on the front of our page and you'll see it there. Punching Bag Skunk, same thing. You can look down. These guys are talking about some serious stuff in boxing and, beyond training techniques and things like that. They're talking about the sport uh, and things like that. Hey, Eddie, love you, bro. Thanks for sharing us out and having encouraging words for Joe. Uh, but they've done some good stuff. You want to see some really good uh, uh, sparring, go to Eddie Hearn's channel. These guys, they spar hard. They're good. They're good. Uh, Eddie Hearn's the man in our book. But boxing's just getting very corrupt, and uh, other than some of these few channels, uh, when we're getting to a point where we're talking about what pocketbook, really a purse because it's a strap, and the color of that a fighter's wearing, or uh, the style of glasses that somebody's wearing, over what's going on with the sport. Maybe we deserve to lose it. We are losing boxing, but maybe it deserves to just be gone. This is a warrior sport. It's a very serious sport. Uh, it's not for the faint at heart, and fashion of the day shouldn't belong in the sport. And uh, we need to get down to brass tacks with sports and get it back. And we can't get it back when we have over 100 world champions and over 17 different weight divisions. Uh, and like I was saying earlier, you count the WBL, uh, the IBL, you start adding those minor organizations to it, and we got 200 champions. And that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And having to pay the WBC uh, $20,000 or $50,000 a year to be put in their rankings, whether you're fighting their guys or not, that's just wrong. That's corruption. It's just corruption. And yeah, the UFC does it right. They sure do. Not a big UFC fan, but uh, and something will infiltrate and get in on that, and there'll be 4 or 5 different guys running that and promoting that. And they'll have their champions. I hope not, but they'll hoard in on it. They're not going to let Dana White uh, keep ownership of that chessboard forever. Uh, they're going to hoard in on it. So, but here's what I'm thinking is probably going to happen. Uh, I'm thinking that somebody like a Mike Tyson is going to come along, and he's just going to beat the hell out of everybody. But that guy's going to turn his back on these belts, and he's just going to stand there, and he's going to say, "I'm the champion." And I feel like public opinion, and this guy somehow he's going to have a good aura about him, and I think that uh, people are going to gravitate towards this person. I believe it's going to start online. It's going to be, I won't say YouTube boxing, but he'll be well known. He'll be liked and hated, probably more hated than liked. and it will publicly force some of these champions to fight this guy. And I think this guy's going to mop the floor up with these belt holders. And from out of basically almost nowhere, and of course it'll take time, but I think the guy's going to come from out of nowhere. And I think he's going to put a little monkey wrench into the heavyweight division. I don't know about these lower weight divisions if it would, even if you had somebody that come in and capitalized over three champions in lower weight divisions. I'm not sure that would even be enough, but I think somebody's going to come in and just pound the heavyweight division. I think they're going to have that going up. If you and after they nail a few people, maybe a year to one of these organizations will be paid. That'll run out, and they'll say, "I'm not doing that. I'm the man. You belt organizations need to be paying me. Your guys are bums." And one good, slick, charismatic, or very quiet, hated, great boxer could destroy the house of cards in the heavyweight division. And if you get the heavyweight division, it'll all come tumbling down. Uh, and then you get these weasel promoters out of it and all these interests that are in it. And then maybe somebody like Dana White comes in and says, "Hey, come over here. We want to start doing boxing now." And then the whole house of cards will come tumbling down. But we simply can't keep going with seven heavyweight champions, six cruiserweights, five light heavies, eight super middles, six middleweights, six welters, six uh, super welters, five super lights. Uh, like I said, and going on down the line, over 99 champions, not putting the uh, uh, they all got their super champion, but they all these weight divisions aren't listing a interim champion or a franchise tag champion. Like I believe the WBC's franchise tagged now, so we're just going to have to. Uh, yeah, I don't even know who that is, Eddie, but I'm going to look into that. Uh, because we need something for our young boxers, and we need more options and opportunities for them. But and how do you get your kid, or if you own a boxing gym, how I know how, but what I'm saying is, how do you cut loose of this guy that if you love him and you care for him, and put him around these weasels? Because you literally have no idea what may happen. That kid got his jaw broke uh, training with Roy Jones Jr., getting ready for a fight down there in Pensacola, Florida. I know Roy Jones Jr. Joe goes to school from the same school that his kids go to. Roy didn't do nothing to really get that kid hurt. And actually, after all the information came out, turns out the dad was pushing the kid, and that young guy didn't need to be fighting for no uh, belt or anywhere close to it. But uh, that story was so big last month or the month before. But what we're not hearing about is the guys up here in New York or uh, Boston or different places with big boxing where they'll take a good kid go in, have him set up and nailed in sparring uh, or something, injuring these kids or breaking them down before fights. So they'll build a kid up, a good kid, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. And yeah, Eddie, thanks, bro. Love to you, brother. Much love to you. Uh, if you, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and you can break a fighter down through the way you're training them, uh, through sparring. There's a whole host of things you can do to break a fighter down before you put them in with another guy. Right now, you can't even trust nobody to train you. Somebody goes and offers, let's say a trainer owns a gym or maybe works in a gym. Somebody comes up and says, oh, you know, you're getting this guy here. He's got a great big name. Everything's going great with this guy. He's 5-0 or 20-0 or whatever. I need my guy to win. You don't have to. If you told me that as a trainer, I wouldn't have to go and tell the guy, "Hey, look, uh, hey, bro, what's going on?" You wouldn't have to go tell the guy. Uh, if I was a trainer uh, and they offered me $20,000, $5,000, even 1,000, whatever, or 1,000,000, but I wouldn't have to go tell my boxer, "Hey, look, uh, I want you to throw this fight." As a trainer, I could make that happen without even letting my boxer know I was doing it. He might have some suspicions to it, but through overtraining, sparring, uh, doing different things with them, you can get a boxer to lose a fight, and you can literally neglect a boxer. You can neglect a boxer, and that's the problem with a lot of gyms today. Uh, they'll get somebody, they'll build that guy up. Somebody else comes through the door, they like them better, and they'll throw you to the wayside. And we just don't operate like that. We don't operate like that, and never will. You know, you're only as important as the weakest link with you. And you either got somebody with you or they're not with you. And you've got to pull and mold. But I'm an old man and I'm going to tell everybody something. The weak links, the guy that goes in the gym that can't defend himself, the guy that goes in the gym that is uh, the weakest guy or the slowest guy. Uh, Generally, the guy that goes in doesn't have a good punch. He's fast. That kid ends up, the one that's fast ends up strong as hell. And the one that's strong ends up fast because that was the things they work on. And if you're a good trainer, that's what you're going to do with your guys. And you're going to uh, uh, not do a one size fits all approach. Uh, you simply can't do that. You got to go on. If you've got a guy that is a welterweight, let's say a 148-pound guy, uh, and he's 6'2", you want to train him a little bit differently than your 148-pound guy that's 5'4". And you just can't do a one size fits all. What we do is we just look at strengths, uh, and we build on that. We don't even look at the weaknesses. And I prefer, this is just me, uh, and it was better for me uh, to have more of an amateur type style. And as a matter of fact, it was more of a Cuban style. Uh, and uh, Joe, for example, my son, he can't fight like that. Uh, he's more crouchy and uh, shelled up. I mean, he comes out and he does things, but everybody's only seeing a piece, little bitty slice. Uh, but in general, he's down and using leverage and using what we've built upon. With it, he's strong, and yeah, and let me tell you something, Kurt. I don't know if you've heard about this, but now I'm an old guy. Uh, we had this guy. He was a trainer. His name was, we called him Panama Jack. I can't remember his first and last name, but maybe you've heard about him. But uh, he, uh, yeah, it is crazy to think our two styles are totally opposite. Uh, uh, and I'll give you an example. I'm smaller than he is, and I'm not as strong, but I was strong, but I'm a smaller guy, and I'm shorter. And if I crouched down and gave more of a Diamato style, I would go in leading, and I would just get pounded by a stronger guy. Because generally I wouldn't be the strongest guy, but I'd be the fastest guy. So I'd stand up in that Cuban style, bob and weave, bam, bam. And Joe don't do that. We're just different. So, and I would never try to get him to do it. He's not as quick as I was. But most boxing gyms you go into today, you don't. They can't do it. They've been taught one way, and that's it, and they can't deviate from it. And that's really sad. I mean, if you, and I often tell people, uh, if you've got uh, LeBron James on, and you've or LeBron James retires, and now LeBron James is coaching. He can't get everybody to do that. And like I said, I know Roy Jones Jr. I love this man. He's a sweet man. He comes off stronger than he really is, as far as talking, whatever. But Roy Jones Jr. just tried to train a guy to fight like him, and the guy got beat up because you just can't do that. People can't see past these things, and you got to go on the strengths you got. If you got uh, Tom Brady on your team, and a young Tom Brady, old, whatever, but a good Tom Brady on your team, uh, but you got bad running backs, why are you going to keep trying to run the ball up the field? Well, that's the way I bet was coach. That's the way we're going to do it. And it's just a ignorance. And a lot of the former pro boxers, that's the way they train other guys. They just can't see. Uh, but uh, anyway, not. I mean, I'm not putting down any trainer specifically or nothing, but I'm just saying some of them they can't see past their style. One of them I happen to really like. My kid schools where his kids school, and we've got that connection. I've talked to him several times, but uh, uh, he's not training well. I don't go tell him that, but it wouldn't dare. But for sure, Roy Jones Jr. shouldn't be. He needs to get somebody as fast and quick and as athletic in general as he is to be able to do what he did. Because Uh, Roy was just great. He wasn't technically sound in any area. He was just great, you know. But we had this guy, Panama Jack. He would literally take, and I don't know if you younger people that even know what this is. I don't even know if they have commercials for it. But Primatene Mist, those inhalers that you like that. Well, there's a Primatene Mist one. I'm sure they probably still got commercials on them. I just don't see it. But they used to have tablets as well, Primatene Mist tablets, and he would crush those tablets up and put them in the water. Now, if you've ever had an inhaler, you know that when you go in, your heart rate increases, your oxygen intake increases greatly. And that's what he was giving the fighters in their water in between rounds. And he also uh, got caught loading a guy's glove. And I forget the young fighter's name who would have been a great world champion at a lower weight class. Uh, he loaded that guy's glove, and the guy almost killed the other guy. And that guy's dad caught it. Had he had a trainer other than his daddy standing there in that corner that grabbed a hold of his gloves and grabbed that fighter and said, "You ain't going nowhere," we never would have known about it. Now, I believe it was about 3 months later, uh, that boxer was dead. He got drunk, ran his car off the road, and killed himself. Uh, it really messed his brain up really bad. So you got to have people around you that are going to love you, place you number one at the moment you need them to do that, and be there for you when you need them to be there for you. And yeah, and there's a lot of evil in this sport, a whole lot. But uh, I always tell the young guys keep going in the sport because you can take what you get in boxing uh, and apply it in life and just literally win at everything. And you already know, you young boxers, the commitment that you're placing into what you're doing. And I will mention it again. So if anybody goes back and they looks at this, I don't know if I put it up where it just shows as a video or not, but the Boxing Scholar, DA Boxing Scholar. Go look and listen to Emmanuel Stewart on there talking about all this weightlifting for strength and conditioning and placing too much of an emphasis on that and getting away from the actual technical aspects of boxing. And I'm gonna put a video up with Joe. I'm gonna show later on this evening. Uh, a lot of you know I've got Parkinson's disease. I can't move around real quick no more. Uh, Still got some strength left, but as far as my speed and movements go, it's not very good any longer. But uh, I'm going to put up a video on how to neutralize a guy that's got a great jab, not how to defend against a guy with a great jab, but how to neutralize that jab. And a lot of you probably have already heard this, but many of you, when I put it out, uh, I wager to bet no boxing trainer has told you that. So uh, a jab is something that wasn't really defended in the 70s. So when you go back and you look at folks like Ali, people weren't, well, they were defending against the jab, but they weren't neutralizing jabs. But today, people aren't really that great with jabs, but not like they were back in my day. But uh, I'm I'm going to show you guys how to. And they shouldn't have been that good back Monday because you could just neutralize a jab. That's the guy could be all quick as everything, and if he's uh, jabbing you to death, you can easily stop that. That's the one thing you can just annihilate and stop. Uh, and we're going to put up just a little bitty. I don't know if it'll be in the short or maybe we're doing some pad work or something, but we're going to put up how to really neutralize a jab. And we're going to talk about that and one other little thing tonight that I know that boxing gyms aren't showing people. And there's a lot more to this sport than slipping punches and good footwork and combinations. There's a lot of different things you can do. And some of these things nobody's talking about. And it's beyond me why folks aren't talking about these. Well, it isn't beyond me. It's because they don't know and they weren't taught themselves. You got to be boxing historians. If you look at the history of the sport and you watch a bunch of fights, you're inevitably going to learn a bunch of different wide ranges of things and whatnot. Kurt, if you're still here, brother, with you, if I had this is just me, and I'm not a great professional trainer or nothing by no means, but if I was working with you uh, specifically, I'd work on speed. Uh, I'd keep working on my endurance and things that I do. If you feel you need to strengthen up, maybe a little bit of dumbbell work, but I wouldn't lay all the focus on that. But one thing I would do with you is I would tell you to because you've generally got height on your opponent, and uh, this you could just go do on your own. I would go watch Thomas Hearn fights. Uh, he used his height at his advantage. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world. Uh, but boy, he was damaging. Oh my gosh! And I'd focus on my right. I'd keep that dang thing cocked, and I'd be standing in front of a bag, and I'd hit that bag, and that's what's increased Joe's strength a lot. Is just punching and punching and punching. But I would go look at Tommy Hearns and look at what he did. Uh, Another guy, he didn't win a bunch of championships or nothing, but a lot built like you would be an ex hockey player that was a great Canadian boxer, Donnie Lalonde. Because Donnie Lalonde could stroke, boy, he could stroke. And he almost beat Sugar Ray Leonard. So, you know, that's something. And he beat a lot of great boxers. So I'd go look Donnie Lalonde, Canadian. Maybe you just put Canadian Donnie Lalonde, and I'd start patterning myself after some of these guys because a lot of stuff you just simply aren't going to get in the gym, and uh, all of you have great boxing trainers. You've been trained excellently. All you guys that I watch, but it's not going to hurt you a bit to look outside of the box that you're in uh, and look at what some of these other guys have done or their stylistic differences with yourself and what you're being taught and start emulating and picking little bits and pieces up uh, that maybe your coach and or trainer are uh, not giving or not able to or don't know to give you because people don't know. Nobody knows everything. But boxing is an open thing. You can, uh, uh, with what works for you, you think inside that box and don't ever waver. But if something's not working for you, you got to find a way to fix it. And if you're going down an assembly line, uh, well, I say it like this: you going down the assembly line, they build at the General Motors Corporation. You've got a line, an assembly line, and you got Chevrolet Impalas going out. Every car's the same. Uh, if every car's the same, they're all gonna perform the same. Uh, some may have little defects. Maybe maybe there was a defective piston in one car, so it's going to be a little bit better than others. But it's an assembly line, and you can't really excel at boxing going through that. But here's what you can do. There's another assembly line over here. You're the Chevrolet Impala. Well, the assembly line over on the other side of the plant or right beside you is the Corvette assembly line. So you look over there, but you need some size. So you look over to your left and you see uh, the Silverado truck assembly line. Take pieces off these vehicles and put them in your vehicle. And that's what nobody's doing no more. And that's what everybody should be doing. And, the old story like with these reflex bags, everybody's, oh my God, Garcia's hitting these things. Ryan Garcia, he came up with this. His dad invented them. No, these things have been around since way before my time, and I'm an old guy. And so a lot of these things are coming back, and when you see somebody cool do something, it puts it into fashion. Uh, I never got on one of these reflex bags, but Joe's on them every day. I love them. I see what the old man was telling me in the gym in Charlotte. Damn, you kids don't get on that. You need to get on that. You kids today are stupid. And we were. And kids today are back on this reflex bag. So, uh, uh, well, yeah, but uh, your coach might have thought they were new. I'm not sure what Dorian would have thought. I don't know, but I was probably, I don't know how old he is, but I was probably in my mid to late 20s when he come into the world. So I'm going decades back before him even. Uh, but he knows all about these things because he's a great trainer. He's a great guy. He's a good pro too. That guy, like I always telling you guys, if we were there, we would be in your gym. Most definitely, because that guy, there's no joke about him. He cares, has a good heart, teaching right, and producing good boxers. And boy, uh, I would. I've seen quite a few gyms in Florida and in Miami. And the real game of fighting goes on in Miami. There, if you think about it, and the gym you go to is you got a better trainer. You just do, in my humble opinion. But yeah, way before. But if your coach was using one, if he was using one back in the '80s or into the '90s or early '90s, whenever he was boxing, uh, he he was one of the few, maybe in the '90s, but in the '80s, nobody was using these things, or the '70s. and that's a shame. But nowadays, I don't know if you guys are using the speed bag, and there's uh, a boxing channel, Kepner, late '90s. Okay, well, they were probably making a resurgence then. We were too dumb to. We just looked at them, and I got one over here. That's why I'm looking back at it. But uh, we were. We'd just look at them and say, that thing just looks stupid. And every once in a while, a guy would pull one out. You know, you got to practice on these things, and especially the ones like this one that I got, because it's straight out of the 1930s or 40s or something. It's got some give to it, so it recoils and goes all the way around. And we get hit that thing go around, and you get uh, stuck trying to. You'd be all over the place trying to throw combinations to it. Uh, and really, you needed to come back so you can slip to it. But we'd get on that thing, on them things, and look foolish, and nobody'd take the time to do it. So everybody just stayed in the corner. Uh, it, I forget the name of the gym in Philadelphia. Frazier was in there. They had one in there, and Joe Frazier and none of them guys would pull that thing out. This was the '70s. It was after Joe Frazier had become champion and had already retired. I think it was around '78, '79. We went into that gym, the gym in Philadelphia. I just sorry I can't think very clear or in remembering the names any longer, but it sat right over there in the corner. Nobody trying to do a thing. Uh, yeah, Kurt, I've got cousins in North Carolina and South Carolina. So we weren't in. I'm sure it's nowhere near as competitive as where you are, uh, in my opinion, and I believe my opinion's correct. But I actually got one of my mother's sisters. She had all boys. It's 5 boys. I think maybe I said the other day it was 4, and I got corrected. She had 5 boys. And as they were growing and getting heavier, those boys won from younger to up through to getting too old to do it. Uh, and they all played uh, minor league baseball, and one of them played for the Montreal Expos in the Major League Baseball. And my mother's brother was a professional baseball player that played for the Cubs, the Padres, and the Angels. And so we've got a lot of athletes in our family, but that one family, one of my mother's sisters, between the 5 of those boys, they in their growing up from age to age, they won every single weight division in the Golden Gloves category, the weight classes, and that was just amazing to me. And Kurt, let me ask you, how tall are you? Now, me, no. I majored at the art of getting beat up pretty good. I did pretty good in college, but I wasn't all this or all that at all. So yeah, man, you should really, really. I'm encouraging you to go look at Tommy Hearns and Donnie Lalonde and start thinking about that. There's no reason, uh, if you keep a good jab with the right cross coming behind it in combination, that anybody should get on the inside on you. And you move good and you got great footwork, and maybe just improve a little bit on your speed, which you can easily do. Um, and I'm sure you already know what to do, and improve your strength just a hair. But I'd be careful. I wouldn't start getting on a big weightlifting program or anything like that, in my humble opinion. Because you are fundamentally sound. And the big thing going on with you is uh, you don't back up, man. You got the heart for it. You really got the heart for it. That's what I would use the bands for that. And also, I don't know if you saw the video. I take a tennis ball, and Joe's moving around and he's shadow boxing. Now, when I first did it, I'll take a tennis ball and I'll just toss it to him, and he'll a left grab the ball, toss it back to me. A right grab the ball, toss it back to me, and now we've got it where he's moving and he's shadow boxing in front of me, and I'm slinging a tennis ball at him, and he reaches out and gets it. Of course, you can't catch every one of those. That's not possible, but that has increased his speed drastically. So if you can get somebody to throw a tennis ball with you, I would just start out like in a boxing stance, reach out with my lefts, grab it, toss it back, grab it, toss it back. And then with my right, and then I'd work up to shadow boxing, and wherever that ball comes, you throw in a hook, get over there and get it with your, if you with a right hook, you'd have to reach there to get it, uh, or even reach out. It makes no difference. It just boom, 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 and that has really helped him a lot. And I know when we put Joe on the resistant bands, it sure speeds him up a whole lot too. And it I'm not so sure the resistance bands have really sped him up, uh, like on a constant level all the time. But I know when he warms up with those things, uh, hell is on in the gym. And we've went through a lot in the sparring and stuff with him, and him having to. Yeah, we're going to be going. We're going to a coastal city. I don't know if you've heard of it. In the next month or two, and he's going to be getting in one of the tournaments in Cartagena, Colombia, and then we're going to have one following that in a place called Barranquilla, Colombia, another coastal town. That's just where boxing is very big here. Uh, and boxing used to be very big around here and in Venezuela. And there were a lot of heavyweight, or there were several heavyweight championships in Caracas, Venezuela. But Joe will be at 14 years old, and he will be in the heavyweight category. Uh, I'm not sure what the minimum is. You probably know more than I do, because I'm sure you're looking at the AIBA, but stuff has been given to you, I'm sure. But at 14 years old, I believe if you're 174 or 176 or above, then it's just above. You're just heavyweight. So he'll be in that classification. So, uh, yeah, we will definitely, just as soon as that happens, we'll be putting uh, stuff right up. So, uh, And even if I don't want to put something up, maybe I can. I think you can put a select audience up. So if you wanted to see it, I'd be happy to let you see whatever he does if I don't want to put it up. But we're going to start putting some stuff up. But uh, we don't really want to put everything. It's not him. He just soon put everything up. But uh, I'm the one that's like, don't show that, don't show that. We got a tripod sitting right over here, films almost everything he's doing, and he does these things so he can go back and look and see what he's doing wrong. That's even better than having a trainer standing there watching you. Is for you to go film yourself, video, excuse me, and go back and look at yourself. That uh, you'll see right off what you're doing. Uh, but you're going places. I know you had that close uh, setback the 2 or 3 weeks ago, and forgive me because my memory's not the best in the world. I can't just recently, I'll say. Uh, but dude, let me tell you something. You're only gonna get bigger, and you're only gonna get stronger. You're only gonna get faster, and you have the something uh, which you can't work on. You can't teach it. You can't coach it. You can't train it. And that is, you got something in here. And everybody that watches you that doesn't see that is crazy. I do see it. Uh, the people that I'm around that look at you, they see it. And I'm sure your trainer there sees it too. Uh, you just keep going. Don't let a setback be a setback. But one thing concerning you that really laid on my heart, and I talked to Joe about it because we like you a lot. We're one of your biggest fans, as a matter of fact. Uh, we felt like, and I hope to goodness this isn't offensive to you, because we've all been through it. So if it makes you feel bad, I don't want it to. We were feeling like you didn't have nobody there with you. Something felt off. I was looking and I said, this ain't, no, nope, nope, nope. I knew right off the bat. I think you put down on that video that you fell short. So I knew what was coming. But in the first minute of that match you had, what I put my fingers on and what I felt I saw and I heard was you didn't have nobody in your corner. Uh, and you don't have to have somebody there as a cheering section or as a boxing counselor. That's what I call it. Like you got a guidance counselor at school. Well, your corner's your boxing counselor during a match or a fight because they should be yelling and telling you what to do. And we just literally didn't hear nothing for you. And I don't know what's going on. Don't want to offend nobody. Don't want to be offendful, but uh, we're nobodies around here. We're not really over anybody. We're all learning every day. Uh, but one thing I can say is I would never have one of my boxers out at any type of tournament where I would not have guidance there for him. I don't know that happened. I'm not saying anything. All I know is what I did see and what I heard. Uh, it wasn't normal. I've looked at some of your other stuff, and you've had the uh, I've heard people shouting and letting you know what to do and giving you advice and stuff like that. And and I see that the mental was off, and God knows we've all go through that for sure. But and I see that it was a mental fight, but I'm feeling, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, or you can just not, however you want to do it, but I'm just feeling like you didn't have uh, the normal uh, normality that day. What it wasn't normal. I didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing. It looked to me like, dang, he's been put up in there. Like maybe you drove yourself there. And I don't know how old you are, but maybe you know, or you a friend took you or something. It just didn't feel like the appearance of what was going on with your corner and what was going on. And that will certainly uh, draw your mental out. Um, Joe was in some matches in year uh, towards the late part, not last year, but towards the late part of the year before, and he was just beating the crap out of everybody. And we went to a little tournament, and he was a lot younger then, because when you're teenage years, 2 years can be a lifetime. It's a long time. And we, uh, uh, I was there, and something happened. Uh, well, I was going to go into it, but I'm not going to go into it. But this is where the father son thing can get a little bent out of whack. It won't happen with me no more. I'll tell you that. But Joe got in the ring, and we had a little tiff before the match. And I was like, well, if you got it all figured out, then you're okay. And that's what I told him. And he didn't ask me to do nothing. He didn't ask me to say anything. But because I was not hollering in the exact tone that I had been using previously, and that everything wasn't all the same, uh, he broke down. Just it was a mental fallout. And after the match, I was like, "What in the hell was going on here? What happened?" Uh, and he told me what it was. He was like, "You didn't tell me this, and you didn't tell me that." But he told me what I didn't tell him to do. And I was like, well, if you knew, why'd you need me to tell you? And it registered on me very quickly that you got to have consistency in everything you do. Uh, I've got a cousin that literally uh, would have two pairs of underwear during baseball season. He would have a pair that he played in, and well, excuse me, he had more than two. He had one pair. I phrased that wrong. He had he changed underwear every day like you're supposed to. But the one pair of game day underwear could not ever be washed. It could never be washed. Had to go from the start of the season to the finish. And that underwear went on him every game. And that's just the way it was. And I remember my aunt telling him, boy, you got to take that out in the storage building and keep it out there. And he was like, Mama, don't you dare if I'm at school, wash this pair. Don't nobody ever go to this. And we all understood not to do it. So there's a lot of things that people got to have the same. But yeah, and you need family with you, especially if you're gonna go off and uh, uh, start having a physical. Well, it doesn't make any difference. It could be, you need people at a football game or basketball or baseball game too. My mama, God rest her soul. I don't talk a whole lot about these things, but when I was 11 years, had just turned 11, about about 5 weeks after I turned 11, I got to be careful here. I'll start crying even to this day because things get better, but things still hurt you even when you're old. But my dad died, and uh, but my mom overcompensated uh, in sports things. So if football game, baseball game, boxing match. I even did some wrestling, whatever it was. Uh, my mom was yelling to high heaven, and she come from, like I said, one of her brothers was, all her brothers were AAA ball players, but one of them, he's like I said, he played for 3 major league teams. Uh, this guy was no joke. He played with Billy Martin, and our next door neighbor growing up for a while was Trader Jack McKeon that managed the Florida Marlins baseball team. It took them one a pennant for them. So we drew around a lot of athletes, but uh, I remember one ball game. And it was football, and my mom wasn't there, and I didn't hear nobody yelling, and nothing was going on. But this was a lot. It's just, hey, you ain't gonna have nobody there tonight, and it was okay. And that little bit of not hearing that voice, which she had the loudest voice, but uh, I'd say my mom's the toughest guy in the crowd, but and she was toughest on me. But uh, you got to have these things. They need to be steady and consistent. So trust me, if I was there with you and Joe was in your team, we would have went with you whether he was competing or not, and you damn sure would have heard a bunch of yelling, backing you up out there in that crowd. And but if you, I would hope that as a gym, you guys can go places together and yell for each other in the crowd as teammates. Give each other all the moral support you can. But anyway, I'm gonna have to hop off of here. But uh, that's good that you all go. That's good. I just, I don't know. I'm gonna ask you a question. You don't have to answer it. I'm gonna ask you if this makes sense. I know I'm an old guy, but if I gotcha. Okay, so you were you were pretty far away, and you didn't have some of your normal backup, and I get that, and I get that 100%. Basically, just stopped me from what I was going even to ask you. Uh, so yeah, but see, and the thing is that whatever you're learning off this, uh, Joe went the ending of the year before last when he first started boxing. He's beating the crap out of everybody. And then we had the one blemish on the record. And then we went to a new gym. And the guy there, he's like, let me help the kid out. You know, Let me get a hold of him. He said, this kid's good. Let me get with him. I said, go on. And this guy's a former Venezuelan professional who he was 25 at the time. He's done since went back and been doing great in Venezuelan nationals, but he's fixing to come back and he's going to be working with Joe again. Uh, and I'm going to help him get back over here to Colombia because this guy's really good. For 6 months or 3 months, Joe, how long was you getting beat up? Pretty much 2 or 3 times a week by Gabriel. How many months was that? 3? Yeah, 3 months. And this guy literally beat the crap out of Joe every day. Now, when I say that, he wasn't trying to bust his nose up, but I'm just saying, as Joe would progress and go up levels, this guy would just go up with what he was dishing, and that's a good way to learn. And Kurt, it'd be like if you got in there with Dorian. He's only going, if you go up a level, he's going to go up a level with you, you know. And this guy beat the crap out of him for about 3 months, and then he said, "All right, now you're ready to go after everybody else." And he's been wide open pretty much since then. But we don't have the uh, uh, we're going to take. Here's one thing, and I keep putting on there. We're going to be at your gym. We're going to see you. Uh, uh, to your coach because we love you, Jim, and we love all you guys. We're going to be when we do come, we're going to come to Tampa, and we will be coming to y'all's gym. And I don't know when we come how long we're going to stay. If we just be able to go in there and say hey to everybody, and uh, or I don't know. We're just coming there, and whatever Dorian tells, if he comes in, if we go in and he says, "Damn, guys, spend the night," we'll get a hotel room. If he says, "Come in here in the morning and train with these guys" or something, I'll do that. It's Orlando, okay? I keep saying Tampa, and it's Orlando. I could have took us way to somewhere else, but we will definitely come there, and we're not very wealthy or nothing. I don't. No matter, I got you, the UFC area. But if we will be coming there, but I don't know if we'll come and stay for a week or two, or I see us the Orlando thing, so maybe we uh, vacation up there or something. But yeah, we'll, we're I keep telling uh, your coach. I keep saying we're going to be in there one day. We're going to come in there. We're going to be in there because we love what you guys are doing, and we love the professionalism, and we love all you guys' hearts. And we consider ourselves one to on you guys' team, even though we're on another continent, and we will end up coming there. And you'll, I'd like you to get you to uh, Joe likes sparring with smaller lighter guys. They're not smaller; they're bigger. That are taller. Joe's 5'9" right now. I don't know how tall he's going to get, but oh yeah, those tickets would be unbelievable. Yeah, yeah. There's no telling how much that'd be worth. Oh my gosh! But Kurt. We'll be coming up there, and we'll be in there for sure. and I'll guarantee you of it. I've got somebody shouting outside, so I'm gonna have to get off of here right quick. I love you guys. Thank you for coming and watching anything that you do. And Joe, can you go out front? Uh, I've got a homemade. We're in Columbia, so we got fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, clean food. So I'll quickly tell you this: the homemade yogurt guy's outside. He makes this stuff homemade. It's high in protein, so I get some for Joe every Friday. So I'm gonna go out there and get that. Love you guys. Thank you so much for thinking enough to watch us. Tonight we're gonna put up a little video. Sure, it'll be tonight. How to neutralize a jab. Thank you guys. Much love to you and God bless you.